Today is Friday of the fourth week of Easter. And today is Friday, the 13th. In popular culture, this is an unlucky day. According to Wikipedia, the unlucky nature of the number 13 originated with a Norse myth about 12 gods invited to a dinner party in Valhalla. The trickster god Loki had not been invited, but he showed up as the 13th guest. He connived to cause one guest to shoot another guest with a mistletoe-tipped arrow. The guest died, the whole earth got dark, and the earth mourned. In the 1890s, English language sources which drew on the Norse legend claimed that Judas was the 13th guest at the Last Supper. Scripture makes no such claim, though the story shows how the persistence of the number 13 as a sign of evil and bad luck has remained with us. In our own time, many ships, including cruise liners, have numbered decks up to 12 and then skipped straight to 14. Hotels, buildings, elevator manufacturers have also avoided designated a 13th floor or room. Predictably, psychologists have devised a term for this kind of extreme fear or avoidance of the number 13. Triskaidekaphobia, meaning literally fear of 13, is credited to psychologist Isidore Coriat around 1910. So, what are we Catholics and other believers to make of this? First, it seems obvious that we're dealing with superstition. People open to interpreting stories and experiences that seem to be coincidences have claimed that the coincidences prove their beliefs. I would be interested in seeing a cross-tabulation of data about fearing Friday the 13th with data about vaccines, ivermectin, hyperoxychloroquine, aliens, lasers from space, and so on. In today's gospel, Jesus tells his disciples, and he tells us, not to let our hearts be troubled. Have faith in God. Have faith in me. Where I am going, you know the way. When Thomas claims not to know the way, Jesus responds, I am the way. This true but elusive answer leaves us with an intuitive challenge, not an intellectual one. Finding the way to Jesus is opening for us something we intuit by sitting quietly and expressing gratitude and asking for God's wisdom. The wisdom comes as God's response, in God's own time and God's own way. We learn by doing, by watching and waiting, by spiritual conversation with those whose spiritual judgments we trust, by discerning the spirits according to the criteria Ignatius has left us. But we must be careful of superstition, of stories that seem too good to be true. This is also an intuitive exercise that follows on intellectual reflection, a reflection on experience combined with a determination that, as the letter to the Ephesians says, we must no longer be children, tossed to and fro and blown about by every wind of doctrine, by people's trickery, by their craftiness and deceitful scheming. Jesus is the way through fear, fear of what is really happening, as well as fear of what might happen, fear of our own fear. Do not let your hearts be troubled, Jesus says. You have faith in God. Have faith also in me.